Welcome to January. Welcome to January. Nation, what's going on? It's the first part of 2015, the second video of 2015, and we haven't had much really to talk about as of yet. But there was something that you guys wanted me to talk about. You wanted me to talk about some of my most anticipated albums, or just some albums that really we should look forward to here in 2015, perhaps things that we will be covering right here on this channel. Everything that I mentioned within the next couple of minutes, I would love to cover. I would love to actually have the opportunity to talk about each of these albums, if not more. In fact, definitely more, because these alone will not pass the time. So, of course, your recommendations are always going to be helpful, and I'm going to do what I can to get to as much as I can. I know that as of late, that's not exactly been happening. However, there have been some limitations, and I will address that in a channel update, which you will see tomorrow. Unless you're viewing this from the future, of course. I like to go on the Metal Storm, I'm not going to lie. It's one of my favorite websites in order to get some information about upcoming heavy metal albums. So let's talk about a couple of them. And we're not going to talk about those that are just rumored, you know, such as the new Tool albums coming, new Metallica, Slayer, and things like this. You know, nothing, you know, these are all albums that are believed that are going to happen sometime in 2015, but there's no official release date for them yet. It's not something that is set in stone, set in granite. It is not something that is slated to officially happen. And we have seen with bands such as Tool and Metallica that is not all that uncommon. You know, obviously these are rumors that surface, they pick up some momentum, and that's about that. New Iron Maiden album, though, I'm praying for in 2015 because, quite frankly, I think we're ready for it. Not to mention the last one that we got was in 2010. That's 5 years as opposed to what they usually take as far as time is concerned, which is usually 3. So let's talk about a couple of these records. Let's scroll down through the upcoming releases here. And the very first one that really, you know, approaches my interest is Dormant Heart by Sylosis. Of course, this was a band you guys referred me to a couple of years ago, and immediately I decided to review some of its work. And you guys definitely want me to talk about more and more and more of these guys. So I definitely want to touch base on this album. I definitely think it's going to be worth it. I know some of you will want me to review Wednesday 13's Monsters of the Universe Come Out in Plague. I can't guarantee that one. I really can't. But at the same time, if I have the opportunity, it will happen. The Crown's Death is Not Dead. This is definitely one that I need to do, considering I missed their last album, so I would really like to do that. I think that would be a really, really cool album to do, all things considered. Secret Garden by Angra. I believe I talked about an Angra album a while ago. I believe it was maybe 1 or 2 albums ago. I can't remember. You know, after 1,200 videos, you tend to forget what you've done. But Angra is a band that I've enjoyed for a while. It's no secret. It's been probably since about 05 or 06, so it's been a while. So I really want to see what this album has to offer. That comes out on the 16th of January. We're still just talking in January here, guys. These are some pretty big albums for January. We have Fronte Schwen, which I just completely bastardized. It's a Marduk album, comes out on the 19th. Of course, these are going to be adjusted for Tuesdays for United States dates, but at the same time, there's that, and there's also The Pale Emperor by Marilyn Manson, and that is an important release, specifically on this channel, considering we talked about his last album and how he went a little bit more of the independent route with it, so he got to do exactly what he wanted to do, and he's getting to do that again with The Pale Emperor, so this is an album that really piques my interest, considering Manson, whenever he's unhinged and able to do whatever he wants, usually is able to incorporate some very cool things into his music, as opposed to whenever he's, you know, restricted a little bit by a major label. That's something that we definitely saw a lot more near the tail end of his work, where it just seemed like something was kind of missing from it. So, as we move on, we could talk about Udo's Decadent, but we'll see whether or not we get to that. Storm, which has an album coming out called Season of the Witch on the 23rd. That sounds pretty fucking awesome to me. We also have Beardfish with Plus 4626 Comfort Zone, which I'm a big Beardfish guy. I really am. They're a progressive metal band, has a lot of hints to rock. I mean, these guys are really, really good. They have some fantastic albums out there, such as Mammoth, and I just really love what I've heard from these guys. They've been very elusive from my collection as of right now, whenever it comes to physical copies, but from what I've heard, thanks to the powers of YouTube and Spotify and things that have been posted on my walls and things like that from people such as yourself, that's just a band that I've been really digging a whole hell of a lot. Hate's Crusade Zero. Crusade Zero is the name of the album. Hate is the group. I remember listening to Hate a long time ago and loving what they've done. It's not exactly, you know, It's not exactly rocket science, but it is good death metal. Napalm Death's Apex Predator, Easy Meal. This one's obvious. Napalm Death, they're legendary. They're legendary. I have a book that talks about extreme metal and grindcore, and they are one of the primary focuses. It's really, really cool. Periphery, they have 2 albums coming out. They have Juggernaut Alpha and Juggernaut Omega both coming out on the 26th of January, which is going to be very, very interesting. Will we handle this like Devin Townsend, where we do each album individually? There's a pretty good chance that that's what's going to happen. And then, of course, to end January, we have Blind Guardian's Beyond the Red Mirror. Blind Guardian, kind of like Napalm Death, is absolutely quintessential. They're classic. It's a group that you have to review, you have to recommend, you have to talk about. Now, whenever we get into February, the very first thing that I see here is World Metal, which is by Soulfald. Now, Soulfald's a name that I haven't seen in a little while. I may have probably have missed a couple of things, but these guys are just really, really crazy dudes. I mean, they have some really interesting ideas, some crazy metal that they've put out throughout the past decade or so. It's been a long time, actually, longer than I may have just given credit or respect to. So I'm really interested to see what these guys are sounding like here in 2015. I mean, it's definitely a lot of time. Momentum's The Freak is Alive on the 9th. Sounds like a pretty awesome little thing to do. Manila Road, The Blessed Curse. There's another great idea. The Grand Experiment by Neil Morse. That would be really kind of off the wall and off the chains, considering, Neil Morse is a staple of the progressive universe, but he's not somebody that I've ever reviewed. So, and for somebody who likes prog as I do, it's kind of surprising that I don't review him. So maybe this is the year where that gets rectified. Epistemology by Keep of Classian is one that also I have my eye on, considering we talked about their last album. Scar-Sighted by Leviathan. That's another great title that looks like it's going to be a good review. That comes out on the 17th, a couple of days after Valentine's Day. Nothing like Leviathan right after Valentine's Day. Am I right or am I right? I'm so fucking wrong. Dearly Departed by Adrenaline Mob on the 20th of February. Okay, I'm not looking forward to this, but I'm looking at this as the first album that really has, at least at face value, the potential for disappointment. But I'm also looking forward to this because maybe Adrenaline Mob has started to solve some of the reasons and some of the problems that makes their form of music, their form of modern rock music, I guess, so damn generic. I would really like to see that get sort of rectified sometime within their career, as opposed to them just being this way forever. One Man Army by Ian Zephyrum on the 20th of February. Of course, got to review that. Return to Forever by the Scorpions. Why the hell not? Brutalize the Sick. Or Brutalive the Sick. That's going to be a live album by Benighted, so we're not going to cover that. Eye of Providence by The Agonist is not live, so we're going to talk about that. Carrick Angren. This is no fairy tale. Definitely looks like one that's worth it. Not to mention, I've already had requests for this, so that one's going to be one where you'll have to remind me, but at the same time, I'm sure that's going to happen anyway, so I don't have to worry much. Hand Cannot Erase. The 27th of February, Stephen Wilson. We're definitely going to be talking about that. And Tau by Negrua Bunget on the same date. Let's move into March, and this is the last month where there's some that are set in stone for sure, so this is unfortunately currently where our ride is going to end. And really within this month, I'm seeing War of Kings by Europe, which is a possible one. But more so, I'm looking at In Times by Enslaved. Enslaved, of course, a couple of years ago, grabbed the top spot here on this channel. And their last album did not do that. This was the album previous. However, I'm interested to see what In Times has to offer for us. And then we have Extinct by Moonspell, which comes out on the 15th of March, which certainly is going to be a hell of an album. Moonspell never really fails. They always really seem to deliver. And then Endless Forms Most Beautiful by Nightwish. And whenever you consider Nightwish, you consider the fact that they've gone through, essentially within the past, 10 years, 3 singers. And so it's going to be interesting to see what this Nightwish is able to offer for all of us in the metal universe. And that takes us through March, at least, from the stuff that's been released, from the dates that have been released and are on Metal Storm. This is, of course, a list that will become larger and larger as the year progresses, one that will be, rigorously compiled. Now, what are some that you know that are definitely set in stone to come out that you're excited for, that you think that we should be excited for? What are albums that you think should be reviewed on this channel in 2015 that are going to be released in 2015? Let me know in the comments. Let the world know in the comments. The only way that these bands are going to pick up momentum and gain ground is if we spread the knowledge of their existence and continuously share the music. So let's do that. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.